Good evening. Jacob has just been encouraged with the most the biggest news of his life. God spoke to him and told him he's going to have his name changed from Jacob into Israel, and that is where the name Israel comes from. And his 12 sons in the future, each of the 12 sons have families that becomes the 12 tribes, and then they become in Egypt the nation that later, again, many years later, Moses leads out, and we get the symbol of Jesus, the food that they're asked to prepare, the lamb, to give them food for the journey out out of oppression from an oppressive regime. Now, as a European, I see these as symbols, as ideas, as social ideas for life, and also a direct belief in God. But as these people still exist, with the in Israel today, and there's a war going on there right now, and they always seem to have issues with their neighbors uh, right throughout these thousands of years until now. We have to bear that in, keep thinking about that, because they're only a few thousand miles away, and that's not long on an aeroplane. And I know many people in my family who've been to visit where Jacob and Jesus once walked. So let's continue our Bible reading, but from now on, we're going to have both Old Testament readings and Gospel readings with Jesus, the Savior of the world, God's hero to humanity. Okay? They set out from Bethel, and when there was still some distance to go to Ephrathah, Rachel was in labor and her pains were severe. While her pains were upon her, the midwife said, "Do not be afraid, this is another son for you." Then, with her last breath, as she was dying, she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. And the footnotes say that Ben-Oni and Benjamin mean son of my ill luck and son of good luck, or right hand. So Rachel died and was buried by the side of the road to Ephrathah, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a sacred pillar over her grave. It is known to this day as the pillar of Rachel's grave. So this is tragic news after such good news. This is tragic news. His chosen wife has died, and as a shock to them, a sudden death of the main, woman in his life, or the most, his favorite woman, because he had to have two wives, and he also chose a mistress as well. So that he's not the good person you might think. Um, so it's through showing in the Old Testament not only good people like Joseph and Noah, but also bad people like Jacob, that teaches us what is wrong as well as what is right with the bad and the good people. So that's the reason, that's the mystery solved, why these people are part of God's chosen people. The sons of, yeah, so that's the mystery solved. That is the reason. Okay. The sons, oh, sorry, I've lost my place here. So Rachel died and was buried by the side of the road to Ephrathah, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a sacred pillar over her grave. It is known to this day as the pillar of Rachel's grave. Of course, Bethlehem is where Jesus was born, but that's mentioned in another part of the Bible. Then Israel journeyed, that is Jacob, his new name is Israel. Then Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent on the other side of Migdal Eder. Well, these places I don't know. There's so much, it's a geography of the area in at this a few thousand years ago at this time at Migdal Eder. While Israel was living in that district, Reuben went and lay with his father's concubine Bilhah. Reuben is one of Jacob's sons, and a concubine is a mistress. And Israel came to hear of it. The sons of Jacob were 12. So we don't know until later what Jacob does about that. We're on to the next subject. The sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, he was tricked into marrying his first wife he didn't want because she wasn't very pretty, and it was the sister of Rachel, and that she is called Leah. The sons of Leah, Jacob's firstborn, Reuben, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And Judah becomes the Jews, and but Judah wasn't one of the best sons. So here is another thing to think about with this solved mystery of God showing us what is wrong and right in each other, in you and me, I repeat, that is God's creation, you and me, wrong and right in us. We need to figure it out, and it's only in wrong and right that we discover things. What is not something and what is something is only possible with knowing the difference between things. Yes, they are all one. The whole world is one, the whole universe is one. But is it all just the same color, the same thing, or are there many things in the universe or in the world? It's an obvious question that you must answer. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. So only two sons of Rachel. The sons of Rachel's slave girl Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Leah's slave girl Zilpah, Gad and Asher. So he had two mistresses, the slave girls of his two wives. So he had 4 partners, women partners. These were Jacob's sons, born to him in Paddan Aram. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre by Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. That is his father and grandfather, Abraham and Isaac. Isaac had lived for 180 years when he breathed his last. So this Mamre at Kiriath Arba, I think Mamre was a friend to Abraham, his grandfather, who was the first, the most famous one that everybody believes in, because he was the first to have faith, to trust God. But he's not necessarily the best, but he's certainly the most heroic, except for Jesus, the hero of God. Jesus, surpasses everybody by the number of miracles that he does and the type of miracles that he does. That is miracles of compassion, of medical healing. Yeah. So and now it says, he died and was gathered to his father's kin at a very great age, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So let's repeat that. These were the sons of Jacob, born to him at Paddan Aram. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre by Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. Isaac had lived. So his father, he went back to see his father, Isaac. So it says now, verse 28 and 29, Isaac had lived for 180 years when he breathed his last. So a little bit older than possibly any of us can possibly live. He died and was gathered to his father's kin at a very great age, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So that's Isaac. They buried their father, Isaac. And kin is an old word for his relations. So, his other family members who are already buried there, which includes Abraham. So now I'll go to begin reading the Gospel with Jesus. And it starts significantly with the family tree of Jesus, even though he's sent directly from God and has no genetic connection with the people of God that that God chose, or the ones that are directly chosen. Obviously, everybody's chosen by God because everybody's created by God, but the people in the Bible are chosen to represent God in a direct way, being taught directly by God, which no other people are chosen in that way. And that's why this is why they're chosen, they're taught by God. It is so that Jesus arrives in these people. These people are prepared directly for the story of Jesus to save humanity. And it makes sense, doesn't it, to put it in the context, in the story of humanity. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense to us if it was not in our story. If he was like, like when you get a photo and cut it out and stick it on another photo and you can see it's not real, that wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be real. But I suppose it is if you believe that God made everything and is in all life, in you and me and all plants and animals, then it is more real than what you see, that Jesus was and existed and exists now in heaven, in the invisible. But to be in the story of humanity, that is really important, and that's why God spoke for a few thousand years in the run up before Jesus, teaching us these stories. It's to teach us. So today only I'm going to read the start, which is just a table of the family tree of Jesus. The start of the Gospels, the New Testament. The Gospel according to Mathew. A table of the descent of Jesus Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac of Jacob, Jacob of Judah and his brothers, Judah of Perez and Zerah. Their mother was Tamar. Perez of Hezron, Hezron of Ram, Ram of Amminadab, Amminadab of Nahshon, Nahshon of Salma, Salma of Boaz, his mother was Rahab, Boaz of Obed, his mother was Ruth, Obed of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of King David. This is way down in the Old Testament. It will take us a couple of years to get to. So that's King David. David was the father of Solomon. His mother had been the wife of Uriah. Solomon of Rehoboam. And in a couple of years, it must be about 10 more channels. And you've got to search Daniel Russell to find them. And of course, the chapter, the book, the name of the book, the chapter and the verse. Daniel Russell and the name of the book and the chapter, the verse, to find each, channel over these next coming years. Rehoboam of Abijah, Abijah of Asa, Asa of Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat of Joram, Joram of Azariah, Azariah of Jotham, Jotham of Ahaz. These people we don't know, but we'll get to know some of them better in these channels as you read the Bible yourself. If you want my help, that's your choice. I hope it's a good choice. It's a good help that I give. The number one priority of all human beings is goodness. It's the thing that we need the most. It's the thing that, for me, is the reason Jesus existed, that God wants us to find, and why there is badness there, that he wants us to find goodness from where we are, in a bad and a good place. If we were just in a good place, which everyone thinks, why is it not just a good place? It is something about the challenge that we have. Would life be good without a challenge? No. So the reason is for a challenge. Simple as that. Ahaz of Zedekiah, Ahaz of Hezekiah, Hezekiah of Manasseh, Manasseh of Ammon, Ammon of Josiah, and Josiah was the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the deportation to Babylon. After the deportation, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel. Babylon was in existence, say 500 years or 800 years BC, and it later became, another nation, and then finally the nation now Iran. So there's been many, like Egypt, like Assyria became Assyria. There's been Babylon became Assyria, and then became Persia, and then became Iran. So there are many different nations that have changed over the years. Of course, there's all the Greek nations as well, just the other side on the west side of Israel, or the Holy Lands. Shealtiel of Zerubbabel. So there's many different empires all around, including the Roman Empire, of course. Zerubbabel of Abiud, Abiud of Eliakim, Eliakim of Azor, Azor of Zadok, Zadok of Achim, Achim of Eliud, Eliud of Eleazar, Eleazar of Matham. Different people will pronounce things differently. I like to pronounce them as they look, because self-taught people are more admired in my town than the ones who are taught in classes. So that's where I am, in Halifax, in West Yorkshire, in England, not in Nova Scotia in Canada. Matham of Jacob, Jacob of Joseph, the husband of Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, called Messiah. The hero of God, it means. Messiah. There were thus 14 generations in all from Abraham to David, 14 from David until the deportation to Babylon, and 14 from the deportation until the Messiah. So I think that's enough for tonight. God bless you, and let's remember the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That is the sent Spirit of God, because of the story of Jesus.